Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. Here is Siembra with Yasmin Ford, BT Radio Universal, aquí en BT Radio. And we're going to do a little bit of Spanglish this morning with Ann. We're going to go back and forth. Vamos a hablar un poquito inglés, un poquito español, porque yo también hablo Spanglish. De estar tanto tiempo aquí en los Estados Unidos. Y bueno, buenos días a todas las personas que nos están sintonizando, todas las personas que nos están viendo a través de las redes sociales. Buenos días aquí con Siembra, Yasmin Ford, y tenemos a una invitada especial, Ann Reynolds. Antes que nada, me gusta hablar un poquito de lo que está pasando al nivel nacional e internacional. Bueno, ya sabemos todo lo que está pasando con el medio ambiente. Todavía no se encuentran 400 personas en Hawái. No saben si están, ojalá que eso simplemente no se hayan reportado. Pero entonces tenemos todo lo que está pasando alrededor del mundo a nivel mundial en cuanto al medio ambiente. Y entonces a veces queremos concientizar a las personas de que es real lo que está pasando en el medio ambiente. Aquí vimos en los Estados Unidos, hay muchas cosas que están pasando. Estaba mirando que creo que hubo un maremoto casi en Brasil, donde 60 ciudades están inundadas. Así que concientización en cuanto al ambiente, el medio ambiente y el calentamiento mundial. También queremos mencionar todo lo que está pasando al nivel político, porque ustedes saben que yo me inclino. Por favor, las personas que ya se tienen que registrar, personas que ya se concienticen también a participar en el proceso político de este país. Bueno, y vamos a empezar nuestro programa un poquito tarde, pero bueno, estamos aquí con Ann y ella nos va a contar un poquito de quién es ella y bueno, qué es lo que ella hace. Buenos días, Ann, ¿cómo estás?
Oh, bien. Gracias por la oportunidad de hablar contigo, pero es mejor en inglés.
It's better in English.
Sí.
And one of the things that I wanted to do on my show, I wanted to, and I talked to Chris, I was telling Chris, I wanted to set up once a month a segment to showcase local musicians, because I don't think we see enough of our local musicians that we have here. And I already start with the segment with couple. I had Reposado, I had Every Barnes. I also had Rio, and I wanted a woman. I wanted a woman because music can be a struggle when it comes to the financial part of it. Music can be a struggle just showcasing your music. And these guys, they were telling me it is a struggle. And I said, for us women, everything is always harder. So I wanted a musician woman here, and I have you. Thank you for coming to my show. So tell us a little bit about Ann.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you again for bringing a woman onto the show, because very often the women are not acknowledged and are not thought of in as you say, in many fields, but it's definitely true in music that you find that, people who are interviewed are very often the men. So it's nice to be able to come on and talk to you about music and about being a woman in music, and the whole Northwest scene. A little bit about myself and my background. So I started playing music when I was pretty young, about 7 years old. I started playing the piano.
Now, you from here, from Washington State?
No, I am from upstate New York.
Okay.
A small city, upstate New York. And I had, I didn't have a really good training. I just had sort of lessons with the neighborhood teacher and things like that. But I loved music. I loved it. But I also was very good in science. And so I actually went on and after college got a PhD in molecular biology.
Wow.
So
sounds
I know, it sounds very daunting. But it was a pursuit. It was, I loved science, I love nature. So I followed that. I think I had gotten the message when I was young that music wasn't really a career. It was not something that it was not highly thought of as a career.
It was mostly like a hobby, probably.
Yeah, and it was more like, okay, well, if you do music, you're probably going to teach music in a school or something like that. And I thought, well, I don't think I really want to do that. So I went on and pursued the science, but it was always, music was still always there. And once I got my degree, the first thing I did when I was making a small salary as a postdoctoral fellow, I went and bought myself a piano, because I missed the piano so much. So then I started playing more, and then I moved to Seattle. And once in Seattle, I started playing jazz, and found a teacher here, and really got into the jazz, and ran that alongside of my science career. But then music started taking more and more of my energy, really, and I realized that I just really wanted to do something with that. So then the big moment, I guess, came when I went to Cuba in the year 2000, and discovered that music. I went there knowing just a little bit about the Buena Vista Social Club, but I really didn't know very much. And I was just opened up to the sounds of Cuban music, the rhythms, and the combination of the classical music too into their music is just so strong, because they're all great classical players as well. And so it was a really nice fit for me. And then also it was my first chance to really get a bit of a touch of the Latino culture. And the Cuban culture is totally unique, unique. I mean, it's Latino, and people say, oh, that's a lot of things you're saying about it are Latino. I said, that's true, but also the Cubans are amazing. And having had that experience in 2000, I just kept going back every year to study. I was studying at the National School for the Arts with the best teachers, and they were so generous. Not only were they generous, but all the students were generous. Everybody was just, oh, how can we help you? Let's have fun together, and let's enjoy this music. So that was when I started really composing music too. I started composing in Cuban styles. And that had been really a lifelong dream of mine, to be composing music, and I just had sort of put it aside for a long time. And then it came back to the forefront, and I formed the group Clave Gringa in 2008, and we started performing around in the area. And my first CD was produced in 2014, Para Cuba con Amor. And we've just been going since then. I have a second CD, Joy, that I did, again, all of my original compositions. And I kept going back to Cuba, and my teachers there would help me and say, oh, this is really good. We really like this, and you should put this rhythm with it. And, so it was great. I had wonderful help from those people. So I really strive to be authentic with what I'm doing, even though I'm not Cuban, I'm not Latina, but I still strive for authenticity in it.
And I think, we spoke before, and I told you I dated somebody from Cuba, and the people are so, they welcome you. It's almost a culture that you fall in love with. And there's so much to learn, and there's so much complicity, complex in the culture, because we have the Afro very alive in that culture, and then we have the Spanish culture in there too, mixed. And when I was listening the other day, they have Jazz Caliente at NPR. Yes. Listen to your music, Jazz Caliente at NPR. And I was even watching your video with Espiritu, and I was thinking how eloquent. It's very eloquent and sophisticated. Cuban music is very eloquent and sophisticated because they play school for them, music for them is part of the school. Oh, it's not like here in the United States that is a choice. And then when they play, they have sophisticated instruments too. I love it because I listen to the music. I said, this little island is stuck in the 1950s and 40s, but when it comes to art and music, is a different world.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
they are ahead from their time.
Yes, and it's not just the musicians, but it's all of the people. They know their music. It's really impressive when I meet like some older people. I've stayed at their homes and things like that, and they say, "Oh, yeah, we know Bobby Carcassese. He's like Mr. Jazz." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm working with his son right now. I'm producing some of my music." And they're like, "Oh, he's great," and then they come back and they say, "But have you heard this group? Do you know this group?" And they all know the music, and they really pay attention to the music. And so, like you say, it's part of their life. It really is part of their life, because anywhere you go in Havana, you're hearing music all the time.
But I was thinking, because of the way the system is set up there too, and when it comes to education, Cuba is number one in the whole region when it comes to education because of the way. So that is, I think, for me, I don't know, I've not been in Cuba, I think it's just part of the curriculum too. Having music part of the teaching. So I wanted to go back a little bit with you and ask you, why jazz? Why jazz?
Why jazz? Oh, that's an interesting question. I have to think about why jazz. I think growing up, I did listen to a variety of types of music. I listened, certainly, when I was a teenager, we were getting a lot of the sort of fusion kind of music in popular music. So we had not only rock, but we had rock with other things. And some of what was in there was the jazz. And I think I really responded to that. And I think probably it has to do with rhythm. And I think that's why Cuban music for me too, that it's just the feel of jazz is very expressive, and I liked that. I liked that a lot. I don't think early on, now jazz is a lot about improvisation, and I don't think I didn't really understand that. And it's not an easy thing to go from being sort of a classical type musician reading music to just saying, oh, just improvise. I mean, now when I teach piano, I take people through that process quite a bit, but it's not easy. And I don't think it was the improvisation that really struck me about jazz. It was more the rhythmic feel of it. And I think early on I was also responding to probably what my parents had listened to, which was more swing music. So that had that nice, that nice feel to it. And
when I think of jazz, it's the same thing that you were saying. And I think with live music is that you can go anywhere whenever you want. You don't have to follow anything with live music. So I like live music because you really, and also this. When it comes to music and the band, that tell us a little bit of how you came up deciding that you wanted to create a band with that music, with that flair, not flair, but taste of the Cuban roots. How does that came about? How do you say, you know what? I'm gonna make my own band, and I'm gonna just do my own thing.
Well, that's exactly it. If you want to do your own thing, you pretty much need to have your own band. And again, it goes back to the issue of what happens with women in music. And very often the women aren't invited in to, the boys' bands. And so, I think when I started playing jazz, I thought, well, I should just form a trio, and we should do some music. And so then so I've been a band leader since probably in the 90s, mid-90s, and that was playing jazz. And I definitely, I tried to make my groups always be sort of, everybody gets a say. It's not like I'm saying we are going to do this way, you know. I want to have that input from my bandmates to help create a little bit more of a, you know, beyond what I can do by myself, because it's a collaborative kind of work. So yeah, I think I started in my band because I needed to do what I wanted to do, and certainly to put forward my own music. That was where I need to do it. I mean, there are opportunities, you know, out there where you can say, okay, we'll just play sort of the standard tunes, and you know, then you say, okay, it's not hard. We all get together and we just play. But it's a little more challenging when you actually want to play your own music and you say, okay, you're going to need to learn my tunes. So I've been very fortunate to have several people, and I've had many people going through Clave Gringa, but they've been willing to really learn the tunes. And I think part of that is because for them it's interesting, you know. If they just want to get up and just jam, they can just go out and jam. But you know, to actually dig into something and say, oh, this is pretty cool, what you've got going here. The tunes are interesting, and that makes me feel good too. That, you know, if people say they're good tunes. Now I was getting huge support from my Cuban teachers. They would, and these are the top teachers. They, you know, so one of my percussion teachers, he has a very interesting way about him, Jose Eladio Amat, and we were playing one of my tunes in Cuba, and he's sitting there and he kind of looking over the music and stuff. They go, "This good tune. This good tune." I was like, and you know, and then the other people were going like, if Jose Eladio says that, you know, he teaches the best percussionists in the country. If he says that, it's really a big deal, you know. So to have that support, you know, I mean, that support was so important to me, because while people here would say, oh, yeah, nice tune or whatever, but they weren't, and some people say nothing, you know, and you're like, okay, I don't know if that means they don't like it or they just don't want to say anything or what it is. But in Cuba, they're generous and they will tell you. I mean, they'll tell you too, like, well, you need to work on this. But, you know, they also say, this is good. This is good. You've done well here.
So you decided to create your own band, and when was that? What year?
Well, like I said, I was a band leader from like the mid '90s, when and I guess we were playing jazz, and I started to move into playing some Latin jazz with that group. And then at some point, when I started actually composing my own music and we started playing my own stuff, then I was like, okay, officially I'm calling this Clave Gringa, you know.
Clave Gringa.
I had to admit, I am gringa. So, you know, it is what it is,
yes,
right?
Yes, so you little flair. But you still have that Cuban, and again, I think the Cuban culture, and not just the Cuban culture, the Spanish culture, they easily adapt you. It's not like, you know, you're gonna stay over there and we over here. That's one thing with the Cuban community, and not the Cuban community, but also the Spanish community. They easily will adapt you and say you are welcome. Yeah. You know, and then you start picking up little things here and there with the music, with the language. Más palabras, con la comida, you know. All these different things. So you decided to have your own band, and now we're looking at all the songs that. Tell us a little bit about how is that process go when you are gonna compose a song? How Anne's decide to sit down and write about Espíritu? Yeah. What was happening in your life at that point that you decided to talk, write this song? This music about spirit. You know that in this country we really don't talk a lot about spirit. So much more when you hear spirit is a different thing than religion. Well, and we connect the two, but because of the Cuban culture, I know that's part of where that comes to, right? Yeah. So Espíritu is an interesting one. I knew
I have to go back to an experience that I had in Cuba where I went to a rumba, and I'll explain a rumba to people. It is, rumba was developed in Cuba in the port cities, in Matanzas and Havana. And it was the workers, these were usually freed slaves, who were working hard all week, but then needed a release on the weekend, their one day off, so usually it's Sunday, and they would have a party, which was called a rumba.
La rumba, yes.
Yeah. And it was mostly percussion, and that could be whatever they had. Boxes, they would play on boxes, because again, they're down at the waterfront, they can get boxes to play on. There's singing, and there's dancing. So those are the basic ingredients of a rumba. And it's just a wonderful party, but it also refers to a style of drumming. There are actually three different kinds of rumba. The one that Espiritu is a wawanko. And the dancing in the wawanko is sort of a flirtation between the man and the woman. And it's it can get more and more intense as the music goes on. So when I was in Cuba, we would go to a place on a Sunday, the Callejón Damal, just a little alley, this beautiful place that this artist, Salvador, had painted all these. It's Orisha art, so those are all the spirits of the religion of the Santeria. There's lots of quotes there. They're paintings. It's a really wonderful place. And on Sundays, then they bring together some rumba groups, and they have a rumba. And so it's an amazing experience. It's packed with people, all ages, and you're just body to body. And the drumming is going, and it gets more and more intense, and it transports you. It totally transports you.
Wow.
And that's when I realized, I love rumba. I just do. I think it's a wonderful expression.
Now, I'm going to ask Max. Max, can you play a little bit of a Espiritu for me? And see if people can hear a little bit about what we're talking about.
This is off the first CD, Para Cuba.
You can hear it? You want to hear it?
No.
Oh, here. No. That's I think we have it wrong. That's fine. I got it here, Max. Mira aquí. Espérate. That is, Max, lo tengo aquí. The first one. With the lady dancing? Yeah, so you was telling me, so you felt a spiritual, like a sort of a spiritual awareness?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I wanted to talk a little bit about, so you decided to write this song. You came back to the United States, and you said, you know what? I had something happen. Something shift with me. So I felt something. So I'm going to write about this experience.
Yeah, and so I wanted to capture the essence of that, but also because my band has more than just the drums and the singing, it was going to be a little bit different. But I still I sat down and just said I need to write some little phrases that make sense to me and are rumba-like. And so that's kind of how I start any tune. It's just with little fragments. And then it just sort of grows from there. So I sat down and just worked, on just coming up with those little fragments, and then found one that I really liked, and it grew. It grew into Espiritu.
So as you also talk about the state of music today, the state of music, especially in Washington State, What is the biggest struggles that you see when it comes to music, especially for women,
Well, there are many struggles actually. They're the financial struggles. Because if you're a musician full-time and you're trying to perform full-time, there are not that many venues that you can go to. And not only not that many venues, but people are not going out to hear as much live music. I think what I see in the Cuban music is that it does attract people in because there's so much energy in it. Sometimes when you hear jazz, and maybe the most pure jazz, the most out there jazz, the audience can't connect to it. But I feel like with Cuban music and with Latin jazz, people can connect to it. And with a group like Reposado, I mean, that is a groove, and it just gets everybody wanting to move.
There is an energy in that he really captured all that energy, because I remember the first time I heard him, I said, "What? This is a burst of energy."
Yeah.
When you hear him, and he doesn't say a lot, but the whole ensemble of the music with the drums, and
Yes.
I had him here, and he said for him the most important thing is the drums.
Yeah.
He said the drums, and he was born in New York, but his parents are Colombianos.
Oh, okay.
So he was like, yes, and he looked at James Brown, and he have all that, and I'm thinking, when you said you went to school, you did the science, and you said, because I don't think can live off of music, but that was embedded. That was that seed that you were born with, to do music. And sometimes we want to walk away from it, and it always meet you and say, no, you was born for this.
Yeah.
You was born to create music. So what it is music to you when it comes to music? I told you when Friday, which I said, I don't know, maybe in my other life I was a musician. Because when I think of music, I think of how it connects people. It's I don't like you right now. You are gringa clave, and you say clave gringa, and you say, you know what? I realize I'm a American woman, a white American woman, but something about that music that connect me with that culture and with those people, and that's what I think music does. So what is this music to you?
Oh, music, it's definitely an expression of the soul. And because of that, when you really find that part in the music, that's what connects people, I think. If it's truly coming from your soul, it's a communication between humans that's beautiful. And I think that's, I feel the greatest expression of emotion, I think, in music. And so I think that makes me feel the most alive, is to do that.
And I was thinking, when we think about music, the non-spoken words, because when I saw you playing, you guys didn't have to speak and say, well, this is your turn or my turn. There was a non-spoken word with your eyes, with your music, you playing, and you cue with the music, with the instrument to the other person. This is your key. Now you need to jump in. I love that about live music. Tell me a little bit about that energy too, that musicians have when they start playing. And I always say, I have never seen a musician that looks mad. They might be not getting paid what they want to, but they're not mad when they play, right?
Well, not usually, except sometimes you're sort of mad at yourself because you're kind of going, I'm just not getting what I want from what I'm playing right now. Yes. So usually if that happens to me and I get kind of mad at myself, it breaks me through the whole thing, and then I go like, okay, now I'm okay. And like usually sometimes that will mean that I play something really loud, and just going, I gotta get there. But the great thing about playing with musicians is that unspoken communication, and the fact that you don't necessarily get it with everyone. I mean, you tend to play with people that you feel the most connection with, and that's different for everybody. You know, who they connect with the easiest. But it's like we used to say, like, it's how do you when you play music, you need to honor the music, and there's something about the music that kind of tells everybody where it's going. And again, it's a sort of a spiritual kind of thing, you could say, that, you know, you all feel like it's going now in this big direction. We're all going to go there. Or now it just feels like it wants to come back and just be easy. And that's a wonderful thing. When you get that sort of change as you're playing along, you get these differences that happen because you all feel it, and you're attuned to it. That you just go, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. So that's the beauty of playing in a group. But it's the beauty as an audience member, as you noticed, that when you actually pay attention to that and what's going on with the music, we're not playing the same tune the same way each time. That's jazz. Is we vary it depending on how we feel, how the day feels, and what the music tells us to do. I remember I had a conversation with a great bassist, John Clayton, when he was teaching over at the Port Townsend Jazz Camp, and I said, well, what do you do? How do you decide what you're going to do in this part? And he said, and I don't decide. The music tells me. You know, I was like, oh, okay, big, okay, got it, you know.
Yes. So you decided to record. You have, how much CDs you have recorded, or how much MP3s, or how much? I know you have about 4, right?
I have 3.
Okay.
I have 2 with Clave Gringa, and then I did one a couple of years ago that was my compositions that were inspired by women composers. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so those were pieces that throughout the last 10 years or so, I would sometimes sit down, be composing, and I don't always have an agenda when I sit down to compose. I sometimes just let myself go free.
That's what the teacher told you before. He said the music is going to speak.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So along the way, I had composed some pieces that I was like, well, these aren't for Clave Gringa, but this one reminds me of Mary Lou Williams, who was a great 20th century pianist composer. And then another one I'd say, well, this reminds me of Carla Bley, who was a very avant-garde, very different style. But I had 4 of those pieces, and during the pandemic, I decided to record them with a fabulous trio, Kelsey Mines on the bass and Chris Icassiano on the drums. And I thought, well, we'll figure this out, how we're going to do this, even though we can't really get together. And then eventually we got together and did the work and recorded those, and that recording got me the Best Northwest Jazz Recording of 2021 from Earshot. So it was very successful recording and very different. And then it made people in the jazz community say, oh, she's a jazz musician. We thought she did that Latin stuff, and they were sort of
finally get a little bit of validation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So of all your babies, which one is your favorite? Which one is the one that you said, oh my God, of all your babies, which one is just your favorite song?
It changes all the time. It changes all the time. That's a really hard one.
It's like
there's another rumba that you need to hear on the second CD because it's really amazing, and it was recorded with friends in Cuba actually, and they added on a Cuban section at the end. It was very wow, it was incredible. Okay,
so now talking a little bit about the financial part of it, how because it is chosen, and you actually went to school to become this molecular science, whiz. So how do you decide? Said, financially, I know I'm gonna get hit. I might not make what I need to in order to survive, not even survive, but in order to, make And how do you came up with this idea that you said, you know what, I might die penniless, but playing my piano and making music.
Right. Well, I did stay with my science for quite a while, and I still stayed with it in a way that would give me a cushion. So I think very often for the musicians, you have to kind of decide, if you're going to be realistic about it, you have to say, I have to have something, whether it's music teaching or something outside of music, the day job. You know, I mean, we're almost all required to do that now in the state of Washington. I mean, it's gotten so much more expensive to live here. And so I think it's a choice. I think going through the pandemic really made everybody realize, whoa, just being dependent on live music as my source of income, it isn't smart. It isn't smart at all. You really can't do it. So you have to find ways to supplement.
Monetize. Yes.
Yeah. And now, I mean, the sad thing is that for a while we were making CDs and people were buying CDs, and now of course people aren't buying CDs anymore, and they say, "Oh, I listened to you on Spotify." I said, "That's very nice, but Spotify pays me like a tenth of a penny."
That.
It's terrible.
Oh my God! I was hearing this guy that something blue, a Colt blue or something. He had a big ass. He said, "I got nothing." He said, "I got like 5 cents per play." He said, "You think
even less than that? It's less than a penny. It's less than a penny. It's terrible. It's terrible."
So how do, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. How do you control your music? How it is that you really monetize and control it in a way that, you know, is you make money?
Well, I think there are a few different ways to do it.
And how technology has changed the whole thing, because you've been making music since the 1990s. How different, because I know we living in a different world now.
Absolutely.
When it comes to streaming, when it comes to hearing music, when it comes to playing, and there's so much coming out too, so fast that you can have something right now and a week it's gone. No, but everybody forgot that your song was out there.
Right. No, the number of new songs out there all the time are just
You ready, Max? Okay. Okay, let's hear it then. We're gonna hear it. Espiritu, okay. Yes. I am very detailed with music. I listen, even the maracas, I could hear them. Even the, when I listen to music, I try to pick up every little thing, even the ones that are undertone. Even Friday when I went and listened to you guys, I told this saxophone, that is an instrument that takes over, and you guys just kind of just pull back a little bit, but that is the instrument that takes what is the trombone. I'm watching more trombone to in the Cuban community. I had this Simaphone.
Oh, Simaphone, yeah.
The girl that sings, she I was shocked when I first see she plays the trombone, and I listened to another guy. His name is El Niño. That he's more rapid thing. You can hear the trombone too. That's why I said Cuban music is very, very sophisticated.
Well, Cuban
very
music,
elegant. It has so much instrument, so much richness, and it doesn't. It's not one instrument or two, and they just throw things together.
No, it is complex. It's very complex, and especially when you get into the modern day timba and things like that, because it's the those musicians are so great. They're so great. They're so well trained. And the interesting thing is that mostly in the schools they don't learn that kind of music. They learn classical music, and on the side they're playing this other music. So it's not, for the longest time, it wasn't even taught in the schools. Those were classical conservatories, and that's where all the musicians were coming from. And so it was this, their lives were music. When I went to Cuba in 2000, and there were the kids at the school had, of course, no computers, no TVs. And so what they could do all day was practice, and that's what they did. And so their lives were like that. There were no distractions. It was very.
So tell me a little bit about this piece. It's beautiful.
Espiritu?
Yes, it's beautiful. I watched it and I said, "Oh my God, it is beautiful."
Thank you. It's again, it kind of, for me, it was my first capture of rumba, and to come back and say, I want to capture that build of the energy that there is in the dance. So for me, a lot of the music is very much tied to movement and dance. So I like to make sure that there's a feeling of movement in my music. So that's what I was trying to bring into that, was, again, the kind of the build of it starts out just slowly.
But it starts with the drum.
It does.
A lot of music doesn't start with the drums.
To me, most of the Cuban music is about the drums. Yes,
it brings in the other instrument. But that was different to me, to hear that you started with the drums and then everything started to sort of, ensemble around the drums.
Right. Yes. And I have to say, I recorded that with my Seattle musicians. That was Ricardo Guiti from Honduras originally, and he's a wonderful percussionist.
Yeah, I know it.
Yes. Yeah. And
he used to go to Gio's a lot and play.
Yes. So Ricardo came in to do that, and he just did some beautiful, authentic rumba sort of sounds and rhythms. And when the Cubans heard it, some of my Cuban friends heard it, they said, "Those are Americans playing the drums?" I said, "Well, kind of an American." But Ricardo, he connects with the spirits too. He brought a lot to that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. Now, Max, we're going to do the game. We're going to do a little game with her music game and see as you can recognize. And these are my songs, so as you don't know them, these, okay. It's okay. Because this is what I listen to too. So it might not be fair. Most likely it's not going to be fair to you. Okay.
Well, I'll give it a go.
De donde el sol calienta la tierra.
Giovanni Primera.
Yes!
I'm going to hear that voice, Alessandro Abreu.
Alessandro, yes! Let's try the other one, Alessandro Abreu. And he came here like a year ago.
Yes.
I think he was here this year. I didn't want to see him, but the first time I went and see him at Club Sur.
Yeah.
I love that group.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love him so much. And he plays it's the trumpet?
Trumpet. Mhm.
Yes, yes. It's
He's
the
an amazing trumpet player. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
He plays super high notes.
Yes.
But his voice
Yes.
is wonderful.
Okay, let's try the other one.
Cuidado, agárrala con ganas. Que la malanga prepara. Cuidado, agárrala con ganas. Que la malanga prepara. Cuidado, agárrala con ganas. Que la malanga prepara. Cuidado.
That's El Grupo Palo.
Oh, okay.
Do you hear about
I've
that?
heard of them. I haven't listened to a lot of them.
Yes,
They're
I
great,
love
yeah.
that group, El Grupo Palo.
Yeah, they're out of Miami, right?
They live
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Miami. Yes.
I need to listen to more of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're really, really good too, and they have the sounds. Every sound is different with them too. I love this group.
Well, they have so much to draw from. I mean, that's the thing about Cuban music is
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand. They know the Buena Vista, that was all nice and everything.
Yeah.
But there's so much depth and there's so much variety. And when I compose my music too, every now and then I'm like, I think I want to use one of these different rhythms. And so sometimes my drummers are going like, oh, we gotta polish up on that one. We don't usually use that one. I was like, go.
Two more, Matt. Let's try two
Oh.
more and see. One of two. You got one of two.
Mírenlo con atención. Si encuentran un trozo verde, mírenlo con atención. Para que después no se salga. Ah, la, la, ah, la, la.
Really hard.
Nos dejamos llevar por la gente.
El grupo Bam
No suele
Bam.
decir
that's my mom?
lo
Yes.
siente.
Wow, and I didn't get that. That's
Nos
bad.
dejamos llevar.
Pero es con with this guy Farmel.
Well, the son,
Yes.
Samuel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Uno más and let's see. No hay más.
And I should have known because of the trombones.
Yes,
They're big in Bon Bon, for sure.
Sí,
Yeah.
sí, el grupo Bam Bam. That they came here too.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they came here too.
Ella dice sin chistar.
Who is that? Who's that?
Son para mí la misma cosa. Hay que simplemente gozar. Son también
Who's that?
La chica del malecón.
son también mi
That is La Chica del Malecón with Anne Reynolds. And you wrote this.
Yes, I wrote
Okay,
that.
tell us a little bit about this.
Well, I wrote this song. I wrote this song together with my friend Fernando Allende. He's Chileno, and we used to play in a band together. Band that I had before, well, sort of concurrent, Coco Loco. We were a little loco. It was a very fun band. Fernando has written a lot of. Actually, he wrote a top 40 hit
Wow.
in Chile for Chileno rock.
Wow.
Back in 60s, I think. So he had a #1 hit. Anyway, he does really nice stuff with. He wrote the lyrics for me because, of course, it's all in Espanol, and I wasn't up to writing in Espanol. So we, I said, I think I wrote the piece and I wrote the music, and then he came in and said, Anita, it sounds to me kind of like, I want to talk about, it's kind of like the girl from Ipanema, but this is La Chica del Malecón, and, the thought about how the Cuban women move and the nice sway that they have, and it's like they're dancing as they walk. So he wrote beautiful lyrics for it, and we worked through it and got
How
this
did
tune
you
out.
become singing? And singing in Spanish?
Oh, that's not me singing.
But I know you sing.
I do.
And you sing in Spanish.
I do sing in Spanish.
I hear you sing in Spanish. How is that? You know, I mean, lady, you have been doing a lot.
Well, I do sing.
And you have me doing this interview in English. Only you can do it in Spanish.
No. I'd be like, wow.
Yes.
No entiendo.
So how did singing became? Because I know, when I did the flyer, I did put it in the order that I thought it came to your life. I said, okay, piano, I have to be the piano first, then composing probably second, and then singing third.
Yeah.
That's how I put it, because I thought in my head that was the process.
Yeah.
So how did you started singing? Did you know you wanted to sing? Did you know you could sing? Or you said, I don't know, I can play. I know I can play, and I can write music.
Singing definitely came later. Singing started when I had Coco Loco, and we would sing harmonies in that group, and eventually they let me sing a harmony too.
They let you sing?
Well, because they'd say, Anita, your accent is just, we have to kind of hide your accent.
Okay.
You know, like, mi acento no es español. I was like,
I hear you have done really well.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, when I have, now this summer I had Manuela Figueroa sing with us down in Burien. And when I heard her sing, I was like, oh, right, that's what it sounds like, really, right? You know.
Remember, you are clave gringa.
I am clave gringa. Yes. When I recorded in Cuba, the other rumba that you need to listen to, and my mentor there said to me, no, you're going to sing this. And I realized it made sense. I sang the first part of the song because it was all about how rumba moves me. And then the Cubans took it in the second part, and it became kind of a timba section. And so it was appropriate. That it was like, well, I'm gringa, I love rumba, I'm going to sing about that. And then they can do their thing.
Well, and you have to... Basically, you said that music is about energy, and I think your experiences as an American woman, the Cuban, the Afro, it's I don't know why would you not want to sing about that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's basically what they were saying.
Yes,
that is your experience.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing bad about you being gringa and experiencing all this.
I have had some Latinos actually sort of go like, well, you know. No, you can't. You maybe shouldn't sing. And
No,
but the challenge really is it's in the singing itself. It's in the language to some extent. But then it's also while I'm playing the piano, it's really challenging to play an instrument and sing at the same time. It's very difficult. I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't realize about that. I mean, I know some people in town drum and sing, and it's very hard because you're really doing two separate things.
Your
so
brain is trying
you have to separate it out. And my voice teacher would always say to me, don't worry about your piano playing. If you miss a note, it's not going to be noticed. If you miss on the singing, it's going to be noticed. Everybody notices the voice.
Yeah.
The human voice, just we all go like.
But it gets the center place in the whole group. You know, one of the things that I do when I go out and listen to live music, I watch a lot of the musicians, and I pick up all the sounds and the energy of the musicians. But I know most people go and they just listen, looking at the person that is singing,
right,
and they probably even forgot about the sound, even though they're enjoying it. One of the things that I do, I look at the whole energy. I look at the people playing the instrument, the way they talking to each other. I love live music because of that. You know, and I realize that it is a collaboration. It is, you can't do it alone. Even though I have some people, I have this kid that I watch. You might want to. His name is J.K. Kiwi Jews friend, French Kiwi Jews. He's young.
Wow.
and he plays everything. He plays, and he's very good. French kid, I say in the 30s. He plays everything, and he's so good. But it's a collaboration, and he has recorded with different people, because at the end of the day, you need that.
Yeah.
And I can see him playing. He pick up the saxophone and then play the bass, but then you have other people singing or doing stuff, and his wife too, she sings, so he has music with her. But you can't enjoy by yourself.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Even
if you play you are the one band person, you don't enjoy.
No.
Yes.
It's yeah.
Yes.
But you're right. I mean, the singer does take center stage, and some people. I mean, I know a lot of people who go out dancing and they say they know the singer.
Yes.
But I said, well, the piano player's really good, and they're like, well, who's the piano player? They don't know.
Yes.
I'm like,
yes.
Yes. There are a lot of other people that are contributing to making that singer sound really good.
Yeah, and I think it's just like football. I used to watch football. I don't watch it anymore like I used to. That everybody give credit to the quarterback, but the quarterback would be nothing without all the defense and all the other pieces that make him look good and run that ball. And it is a collaboration, and I think at the end of the day, you learn how to work with each other.
Yeah.
You learn how to do this. And now JP from Reposado, he was telling me, he said, I had a lot of people in and out come out, in and out. I hear you said that. You always try new things, that you find that piece, those people that say, there's the click.
Yeah.
When does that happen to you? Or you're still in that process of finding people that will stick around and say and have the energy? Because it's not so much sticking around, having that energy of the same, because it is a dynamic that starts. And some people come in and they play for a little bit, and then they say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Because he said I have, you will see me, you see somebody this week, and then they're gone.
Right. Yeah. No, that's one of the challenges of being a band leader. And I've definitely had times where I've thought, oh no, this person has told me they're not going to play with us anymore. What are we going to do? It just felt really good with that person, and then something happened in their life, and they said, I really can't do this anymore. And so they're gone. And you're like, oh, how could we possibly replace that person? But then you do. And then you go, oh, and it's a different person, and it's a different sound, and that brings out something different in everybody in the band. So it's an interesting process, and it's one. I think about the great jazz bands, like somebody like Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. So many great musicians went through that band, and he kind of like was almost a starter or feeder band for a lot of people. People like I don't know if Miles ever played with him. Wayne Shorter was there. I mean, they were just the people who went on to be some of our greatest jazz musicians. Started. Wynton Marsalis was in his band for a while. And it's the nature of it that you bring these people together, you hold them as long as you can, and then you realize you can't hold them forever. I guess it's like having kids, that they go out in the world and they do what they're going to do.
And a lot of times, did you ever have anybody that started with you and then branch out and have been doing really well, and you said, your heart gets full because you say, oh my God, I'm part of that. I was part of that. Have?
Oh yeah, there's some young musicians I've played with, and I've seen them been going like, and I'm like, wow. That's really incredible. It makes me sad too if they're not playing with me anymore. But
but you think you was part of that process of you elevating them to that and I think people it sounds cliche, but you meet people for a reason. So which have been the musician or the person that impacted your life the most when it comes to music and learning about just discipline and life and dynamics and stuff when it comes to music, because I see music as part of your life. It is that.
Yes.
You know. And I don't think I think a lot of times we ask kids what do they want to do when they grow up. I think that's a wrong question to ask. This is not the right way to ask. I think the question is what I'm here for. You know?
Yeah.
And I think you went doing this and you said, no, I'm not doing music. But this is what you was here for. This is why you were here for, to connect people, music, you know.
Right.
So who is the person that impacted your life and you said, I would never forget this person. I had a teacher like that in my life, but still I remember her. That, you know, they just changed your life. They just left all their fingerprints in your life. Right.
I think actually it was maybe one of my Cuban teachers, who the first time I studied with Odalis, I wasn't very advanced, and she kind of was like, well, you know. And then a couple of years later, I came back and I had advanced, and what she said in Spanish, and I had to be translated because she would always use these metaphors and things like that, and I'd be like, what's she talking about? The lettuce in the song. I mean, I'm like, I don't get that. Anyway, she said after she heard me play something, she said, you've walked many miles. And I was like, oh, you know, again, coming from this woman who was a very strict teacher, that was a huge compliment. And then she continued to work with me, and she would show me things. And she has a very different style than I do. She has a very florid style. So, you know, some of what she does is not me. But there's a little bit of that I can pick up on, too. And so I would say Odalis was probably one of my very strong moments, really.
And she left fingerprints in your life.
Yeah.
What it is you learned the most about her? I mean, that you said, wow, I'm gonna take this from her and make it mine.
Yeah. It's expression, and letting yourself express. So like I said, she's very florid. She's like way beyond. I was, you know, way like back in like being an American, you know, a North American, you know, kind of like scared to open my mouth about things. And then here she is going like, no, you've got to be big, and you know, and I was like, okay, I'll come part way there, you know. So I think that's what I take. So when I play, sometimes I'm thinking, I'm doing this for Odalis.
Freestyling.
Yeah.
Be
just
free
just
spirit.
Big. Just really let it out. Really let it out.
So when it comes to music today and woman, what would you tell a woman today that has this thing here inside her that she knows this is my path, this is what I want to do, there's no way I'm gonna not do anything else but music? What would you tell?
I think what I would say is don't wait for people to come to you. Go out there and do it. Because I think a lot of times what I see happening with women in music is that they think that somebody will come to them and say, hey, you know, you're good, why don't you come in my band? It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. You need to like get yourself out there and do it. Be ready, but put yourself out there and do it. Don't hang back and wait for somebody to invite you. I mean, sometimes it can be, you know, some people do that and it's a little bit obnoxious, and you go like, wow, I can't believe they just got up on the stage and they're maybe not that good, you know? But, you know, it's a starting place. Yes. And then people say, this person has the guts.
Brave.
And they really want to do it. Like you say, they've got this and they want it.
And I think I always tell my son this. I said, I always tell him, you have to create your own story. You cannot make other people write the story for
Right.
you, or even go with the story that was told about you. You know, you gotta write your own story.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
you can't go with that. So let's play another little game. We're gonna play, and we have about what? How much time we have, Maximiliano? ¿Cuánto tiempo tenemos? 5 minutos. Okay, 5 minutos. Okay, so let's favorite musician.
Wow. Oh, that changes all the time too, you know.
I know, for me too. For me too. I have, you know, 1 month I am listening to this person every day, and then I don't.
Well, okay, my favorite is, there's a person, but there's a band associated with it too. And it would be Robotico Carcasses and Interactivo.
Oh, Interactivo.
Do you know Interactivo?
No.
That's where Sima Funk came out of.
Oh, you was telling me about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Interactivo. I gotta
Yeah.
look at them up
Yeah.
because I love Sima Funk.
Yeah, yeah.
I know they're never gonna come here to Washington State. I know
Yeah.
they're gonna stay in Miami or but yes.
Mostly East Coast, yes.
Yes, yes, New York.
Yeah, right.
Okay, favorite food.
Favorite food?
Yes.
Wow. A blueberry scone. I'm thinking about it right now.
Oh my God! You gotta go to the. They have the fair today.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay.
They have
Just downtown here.
yes, in Puyallup.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
What else? Favorite movie?
Ooh. Wow, you're hitting on some tough ones here. I think The Year of Living Dangerously.
Yeah.
Do you know that one?
No.
It's about Indonesia and some of the fight for independence, and it had Sigourney Weaver in it. And
That is new.
no, it's old. It's old. It's probably
Okay.
from the 80s or something.
Okay.
But it's an amazing movie.
Okay.
Or Atlantic City. That's another really good one. But that's also an old one.
The old one. Okay.
I'm in the old movies.
Okay. Let's do favorite music. I said favorite comida favorita. Favorite place.
Favorite place?
Mm-hmm.
Havana.
Yeah, I thought of that. I thought of that. Favorite place. Okay, so we're gonna finish, but we're gonna finish you telling you people a little bit about your music, and if they want to get your music, if they want to listen to your music, if they want to go see you live, where they can do that. So yeah, tell
Okay,
people
okay.
about
So there are a couple things that I want to say then, because there's Clave Gringa, and we have we're playing at the North City Bistro on Friday the 15th. So that's
That's
coming
where
up
I
this-
went last time.
No, that was Boxley's. That's in North Bend. The North City Bistro is Shoreline,
Okay.
North Seattle. Nice wine shop, good food, and it's a small enough place, holds about 60 people,
Okay.
that you really feel like you're all part of the show too.
Okay.
So that's a really good one coming up.
So that's next week, Saturday, right?
it's
Friday.
Friday. next
Okay.
week, yes, I'll be.
What time?
Saturday I'll be in Tacoma actually.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Where?
I'm going to be at Jazz on J Street. Do you know about that?
Yes.
I mean, that's right near here.
Okay.
Yeah. mhm.
Okay, so Saturday here
Yeah.
and
Friday up North Seattle, and then I have, as part of the Earshot Jazz Festival, I'm doing a performance called Celebrating Mary Lou Williams, and this is a pretty unique production. It's a combination of live performance by some of the best Seattle musicians, and also archival film footage of Mary Lou playing, and some interviews with her.
Wow.
So you really get a sense of her from that, and then we also play the music. And she was involved in all of these different subgenres of 20th century jazz, for everything from stride and boogie to swing and bebop and a little bit of avant-garde, and then she did a jazz mass too. So we're going to represent all of that in that event. So that's October 25th, and that's at Langston Hughes Center in Seattle. Really nice place to hear the music.
As people want to listen to the music, hear your music, get your music.
Okay, so if they go to my website, they can contact me there if they want to directly get the CDs, because most of the places aren't selling CDs anymore. but you can still get the CDs at, at my gigs CD. And yes, I am on all the streaming medias.
Okay,
So
yes,
if you just went for
fine.
Clave Gringa, you would find those recordings are online, and also Anne Reynolds, the Anne Reynolds Trio, which is the one inspired by women composers. Sorry, I'm doing that wrong. Yeah. Did I cover all the bases?
I think so. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that is listening. Thank you to you, Anne, for driving all the way from Seattle to come here and sit with me.
Yes, that's
Thank
great.
you for accepting my invitation, and I think I will be seeing you maybe Friday.
Good.
Yes,
That would be awesome.
hopefully not the drive. That drive was a little bit scary to me
Ooh,
Friday,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I
No, this-
I made it. I should have go earlier. But yes, so I want to just thank everyone that was listening to us through VT Radio, todas las personas que nos están escuchando a través de VT Radio Universal, gracias, que tengan un bonito día, bendiciones y que la pasen bien. Y gracias a ti, Ann,
Muchas gracias.
Anita, por recibir mi invitación. Thank you,
Gracias.
Max, for helping me out this morning. Okay.